Hey everyone, welcome to the Elite Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Popple, along with my co-host, William McClellan, and we have our guest today, Dean Barlow, who's telling us all about his company, Continuous Cash Flow. Please check out part one, where you can learn all about Dean and his background that led him up into where he's doing today in real estate. He had a great childhood as far as learning all the trades, but now he is raising capital, and he is about to close on his on another syndication. So, Will, why don't you start it off with the first question for Dean in part two?
Yeah, man. So super excited. Last episode was awesome. So if you guys didn't check it out, check out that last episode. But we're about to dive into the details here. You guys know how it is. Part two is all about business ops, what's happening with the deals. So let's get right into it about learning multifamily. Like, tell us a little bit about what you're trying to do at Continuous Cash Flow. If it started with networking, books, courses, what made you lead into this way? Why'd you get into, as limited partners, and what are you doing now as general partners?
Yeah, so I think it's all of the above. It was a course, it was a post that somebody posted, and so, I'll check this out, and then, oh wow, there's a lot of people doing this. So you go in there, and now you find that you can be a part of a group, and then you join the group, and then now you've got built-in partners. So you're going and doing all kinds of underwriting, and now you have a semi team built with other people's already existing systems. So if that's an underwriter, and they usually do underwriting for the main group, then now they'll help you on a deal or something just getting started. So that's kind of a lot of what's helped us get our foot in the door. And
so leveraging other people's teams.
Yep.
Okay. Talk to listeners a little bit about that, because I feel like a lot of people want to do a lot of the work on them, like by themselves. And maybe that's when people get deterred, because it's hard. Like you mentioned, like a couple other people have mentioned, it takes 3, 4, 5, 6 times to get back into it, to see that kind of hyper acceleration moving up on the charts. But a lot of people don't get to, if they have that first fail, they don't go to 2,
Yeah. So, and I think I've said this before, but I feel like a sponge. If it's the information I want, then I'm sitting here, okay, tell me more. Oh, what? You have somebody doing underwriting for you, or you have somebody doing acquisitions for you? Who is it? What's their name, number, and email? How can do you mind if I just strike up a conversation with them, or if we have them check out what we have going on? So 100% leveraging other people's time, I guess, and their teams that they've already been doing successful deals, which is why the syndication has been so successful for us.
I think you make a great point there. And one of our previous guests mentioned this, leveraging people's times, but compensating them for that, right?
Yeah.
We're not
takers.
Exactly. And I just wanted to kind of, reiterate that. It's like, yes, you are leveraging other people's time and expertise. That's what they do. But you can't be cutting deals on deals for something that someone is an expert in, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not trying to undercut them, and we're not trying to get the upper hand. We're trying to make it work. It has to be a win-win.
Totally.
And it only would work if they're willing to share that information or their people's information. And a lot of them, and you see them, and they're like more than gracious. Hey, come meet this team member and see what you guys can figure out, because they're already confident in what they have going on. So, yeah.
That is something that I think people are scared of. Asking for that help, getting the rejection of someone saying no. But I feel like anytime I see these people that are doing millions of dollars, and I'm thinking of one guy specifically as a developer, and he's built this massive business over the last, decade and a half. And when I talk to him and really reach out, like, hey man, I'm having this issue. He says, hey, I might not be, can I get my assistant to schedule a time, because I can help you. I went through this same thing. And it's like, this guy's doing crazy deals, and he's notching out time, not just like, hey, let me try and answer this really quickly. Like, he's like, no, I've been here. And it's really cool seeing how many people are open to do that. But so many people are just kind of scared. I know I was. It's kind of nerve-wracking. Like, oh my gosh, this guy's doing all kinds of stuff. And a previous guest said, he started doing this just by hitting people that were doing crazy stuff on Instagram. He's like, okay, I'm just going to DM them. And if they have all these teams of people that are managing their socials, it might be just an entryway. Or maybe that person, he said, actually, a lot of times they've been helping me as long as it's like purposeful outreach. And you'll be surprised how many people are willing to help. And I just thought that was awesome.
Yeah. And on that is, I know I've learned from some of the best, my mentors, and what they say is when someone else succeeds, then there's a lot of people looking down or hating or whatever. And what he said is, he's like, you know what I do every time they do a deal or close a deal or have a win or something is like, congratulations, send them that DM. Good job, nice work. Hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking to do. So that then now you validated them. They're looking, going, hey, appreciate it, thank you. Oh yeah, here's so and so. You can talk to these people over here and help you with what you got going on. So it's a great way to collaborate.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea because you know what? Another reason why that works so well is that there's a lot of times where once people just close a lot on 1, 2, 3 deals, they kind of max out the capital they have at hand immediately, but they still might have another deal flowing through, and they might then want to pass it on to someone else they know that's in the space because they don't want their deal flow to stop. They want to keep getting the deal flow through. So even if they're passing it on to a friend or something like that, I mean, it's still better than losing the deal completely, so that way. But those kind of things only happen if you continue to build up those relationships.
Yeah. Go ahead, Will.
No, after you. Sorry.
Yeah. So, on that,
we're all excited. I love it.
Yeah. They say the law of the first deal, right?
Law of the first deal.
So if they did that one deal and they were afraid of losing the second one, or if they're I've seen people try to do all 3, great if you can make it happen, but get the one done. And if the one done and the other 2 fall away, you didn't lose much.
Right.
Because now you have every team member that you have collaborated on to make the first deal happen, they'll be there. The people they know will be there. And now that you'll have a success rate. Look what we did. Doesn't matter if it was one door, doesn't matter anything. You did it. It's done. Right. It is history. So you can build on something that you've done. So that's what I always think of.
Build that foundation, right? And then going back, I just am constantly writing notes. This is like my favorite day of the week is when we have these. It's so fun. But I wrote down here 4 times over, like the ways that you transitioned and were able to scale was team. And you're just reiterating it now in a new way of like utilizing and leveraging and understanding and meeting these people, even if it's just through a post or a course, and being able to do that. Now you're building that team, you're building that validity. And yeah, you might have had 3 deals, you closed one. Now you validated yourself to everyone else on that team.
Right.
So those other 2 deals could be minute if you're getting 10 deals, and that kind of goes back out, make the offers, make the estimates. A
lot of times those owners that were selling you that one deal, maybe that deal had to go. They seen you were busy, and maybe they have 25 more deals.
Yeah.
Maybe you still have that contact, and they'll come back later. Like we've talked before, it's like, hey, are you ready now? Well, that one had to go. It had a timeline, it had deadlines, whatever. We had to get rid of it. Sorry you didn't get it, but hey, we got 1,800 more sitting here. You want them? Whatever it is. So you didn't really lose much. And what you gained is confidence in yourself and your team because you actually accomplished something. Mm-hmm. So somebody I know once said, I'm really excited because my people now look at me confidently that they can go and buy a house. And we're talking about like as a business, they have a job. They now are building their lives, getting married, having kids, buying cars and trucks and living based off of what I've built. This is what he was saying. And now he feels responsible and prideful of that. He built something bigger than himself. And it's so cool hearing him,
Sick. I love it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. There's like outside of real estate, I'm also a restaurant owner. And I have four restaurants. And one of the things I'm most proud of in that is that I employ over 40 people. Because of me, over 40 people have jobs. And so no, I mean, I definitely think you're doing something bigger than you is really important. But
I
kind of
think
best.
that's the perfect time for a plug because this is so true. Thank you to Clean Eats for always allowing us to have these podcasts. If you guys haven't been to Clean Eats, check it out. Mobile, Pensacola, Shalimar, Tallahassee. Amazing food. I'm telling you. I was just talking about the pizza. You can have an entire pizza for the same calories as one slice. The way they make everything, they make it in-house, flash freeze. You can take it to go. You can eat right in the cafe. Definitely awesome. So thanks to
Making me
Clean Eats.
hungry.
And thanks to Sam. Thanks for employing these people, building businesses around the Gulf Coast.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, if you get up with our guy Lance can take you to the Clean Eats in Colorado. So there's actually a couple cafes near you that Lance does some work for. But back onto the show.
Let's go, Lance.
One of the key elements in your strategy is the path of progress. So can you dive a little deeper in how you identify properties that are in those high growth areas?
Yeah. So high growth is what we look for is who's moving in.
Okay.
You know, and a lot of people, like you talked about the fear. So many people are so scared of all this big talking and big thinking and influencers and all this stuff they don't know anything about. They just got out of school and what in the world is going on. But if you scale it way back, and who's moving in? If it was a house or a single one-horse town, who moved in town? Everybody knows about that one person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you scale it up to a state or a country. You know, people on a bigger scale than myself know who's moving in the country, who's moving out of the country, who's moving into this state or that state. So, you know, if people are moving out, your revenue's leaving.
Sure.
You know, people are moving in, your revenue's coming in, and now you have jobs that you can create or have been created for you. Now you just got to take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that the path of progress is companies coming in there, you know, like auto industry or pizza like yourself, restaurants or businesses. You know, there's an endless list of people that have a skill set that they want something new and better for their lives. And if they come to town, you know, they're going to put their money somewhere. And I had my meeting this morning and we talked about the money's going somewhere.
Money's going somewhere. Yeah.
You know, they're putting it somewhere, whether it's with you or not. So
definitely.
So why not make it you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's where the sales comes in.
I got you. No, so
put your money with us.
Yeah, bring it. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
So you built this awesome portfolio. You're learning from others. You're building teams. You're leveraging teams. Now with this path of progress, high growth, who's moving in? You're, heavily focused on this emerging market in the high growth areas. Can you break down for some of these listeners, like 3 to 5 elements on how you're properly evaluating these markets' potential?
Yeah. So jobs.
Okay.
What jobs are coming in?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's the weather like? Is it high hurricanes? Is it
a good climate? Us in Florida.
Yeah. Well, not even just Florida. You know what we've had in the last year around the country in places you don't normally have issues, flooding and all that.
Right.
So is it somewhere that people want to live? Are they moving there? And then, economically, does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it can a typical family live there at a decent price? And if not, then who's moving in? You know, we call it the formation, a house formation. It's not families like it used to be in the old days. It's a formation. If 2 or more people own or rent a door, that's now a new formation. I believe that's the
2 or more people. Okay.
Yeah. So because rents are going up.
Yeah.
So therefore your mortgage, we all know, well, I know because I'm in the space, but you know, a lot of people aren't buying houses like they used to.
Yep.
So if they can't buy a house, what are they doing? What's the next best thing? Well, rent an apartment or rent the same house. They just couldn't get their paperwork together in order to buy the thing yet. And maybe that's what their goal is, to work.
Yeah. So I think you mentioned something there that's really important. People aren't buying at the same rate. Is that detrimental for these other facets of real estate that people like to hop into, like flipping houses, new construction, things at single family levels, as opposed to, large residential projects and big syndications.
Yeah, it depends on what type, right? Multifamily could be townhomes.
Sure.
It could be apartments. It could be high-end lofts. So just what is the market support for the formation? Is it really only 2 people? Is it 2 people that turns into 4 people? They're having kids. They want rural. So then if so, that's where you're going to want your single family and you're going to want to focus on that. But if it's strictly multifamily, then now, okay, doesn't matter if it's one person, if it's an apartment, your rent for that door, that one is sold, that one is rented, whatever it is. So now you're just paying attention to the graph and the mark of how many people are moving in. Okay, X. How many doors are available? Y. Okay, this is what we have to look forward to in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
yeah, no, definitely. Because I was about to say, like, if I go to continuous cash flow and I can learn about your methods and your strategies and everything that you're doing, would that be a great starting point for one of our listeners?
That's a perfect starting point because that way the information is there, and we've put a lot of work into information for that reason. So www.continuouscashflow.com, that's our website, and we've got almost everything you need besides a phone call with me.
Yeah, is that kind of so you're saying everything we need to invest in deals or to find deals or
to make the next step,
to make that next step,
to decide what information you're looking for. If you're coming, we don't know anything about William, and all you know is, oh, I showed up on this website. Who are these guys? What do they do? Everything you should need to tell you what we do and why we do it is right there. So now you can make a decision. You leave the website, or you go down to the bottom and you fill it out and you say, hey, I need some more information.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so it looks like you guys are looking to acquire only properties that have over 50 units and that are kind of in that price range between 4 million and under 50 million.
Those are the ones we're bringing investors in on.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So what made you decide on doing that? And then everything, it's after 1970, I saw. So what made you kind of like focus in on that particular bit of criteria?
Insurance.
Okay.
Yeah. Before I knew what I know now, I always wondered, why did people make a specific point? Why do they only want this many doors? Why do they only want to work with the year and the vintage or whatever? Insurance has a lot to do with it, because insurance says we will not insure anything older than this date, and that changes. It's changed 2 or 3 times. So that's why that's on there. And then, the number of doors is just getting to be where, okay, if we're going to bring in certain amount of investors, how many investors do we want per deal? We haven't talked about funds and stuff, but once we get down that rabbit hole, then it'll be a whole different thing. But right now, that's kind of our goal. Is it makes sense, the numbers make sense, and the deals make sense to us at this point in time now for that many doors.
That's awesome. No, I think that we can go back to the last episode on trying to understand things at more of a bite-sized level, right? You were, we all have been in the situation where it's like, oh man, check out that dude's a billionaire. He's not really telling us about that first house he went into, right? That's if you guys didn't definitely check out Dean's last episode. He's like talking about his
awesome
life growing up and everything. So amazing. That, I mean, how quickly did you scale these 3,700 plus units?
Not very fast.
Well, I think
slow.
What's slow?
Quite a number, though.
What year was year 1, and then what year was I got 3,700 doors?
Year 1, I think, was like 2013 or 14.
Okay.
To now.
Okay, so slightly more than a decade. That's crazy.
About 10 years. Let's call it. Yeah, we can call it 10. We're barely into 25.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's 370 doors a year average. No big deal.
I mean,
slow.
It's
not like 1,000 doors a day or anything.
Yeah.
But like I said, though, these are syndicated. These are what the operators presented to us.
Mm-hmm.
So now, our trajectory is to build our own portfolio,
Mm-hmm.
to
Right.
start where they started, get where they are, not start where they are and fall off the rails.
Point something out just because I feel like I probably know the answer, but I want everyone else to kind of see it. I bet the last 2 years of the 10, did you close most of those in the last 2?
Yep.
Or was it pretty evenly split?
No, you dead on. Yeah,
I
because
was
everything
going to say, I
built.
bet you 80% were closed in the last 2 years.
Everything built to that. Yeah, and it came to a head because
It was
all the
simple.
information and knowledge.
80-20 rule is how I decided that.
Yep,
So what?
absolutely.
Yeah, but that was, and that I wanted to highlight that for everybody because Dean's first 8 years, if we kind of rearrange that, had relatively few doors. Then all of a sudden, year 9 and year 10, boom, boom. So again, it's a slow ramp up, but it's like the steps you do today are going to make the difference for the steps 10 years from now. And Dean's living proof of that.
That's why everybody thinks it's overnight success. I remember the first time I ever heard that phrase, I was like, overnight? Really? How'd they do it?
Overnight in a
magic.
decade.
Yeah. No, it just was all those collective years coming to a head, and now everybody knows your name. Now
Right.
you're out of obscurity to a sense that people are starting to hear about you and know about you, or you've done your homework and you've done your marketing and you're starting to push it. So yeah, you're spot on.
Right.
Isn't that kind of like that old parable of like the gold miner? He moved out west. He's from the Northeast. Hits the gold rush, and he had, I don't know, dozens, if not hundreds, of guys working, and they created the ghost town, but they were 3 feet away. The next guys came in; they were 3 feet away from the actual gold mine. Yeah. It's
I
like,
gave up because one, you don't know if it's there. You know it's there, but you don't know.
mm-hmm.
But maybe it's a shiny object over here. So let's try California.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in hindsight, you should just been selling everyone the picks.
Right. Because you know it's there somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. So what are you doing about it? Yeah, at least get your foot in the doors. A book I read a while back, it says, get in the corridor. And I always think of that, get in the corridor. What the heck do they mean? What do they mean? Mm-hmm. Be in the space. Be talking to the people. Be seeing and reading the articles that are coming across, knowing the markets, keeping a pulse on the market. So, yeah, getting in the corridor is a huge thing for me, especially when I was working my W-2. Like our last episode we talked about, I was not in the corridor. I wanted to be, but I was stuck in a mundane, endless, a super bad spot mentally where all I could think about every day was getting in the corridor. So then give it all up, go. And then you're like, oh yeah, I got to figure some stuff out first. Mm-hmm. But super important to be, wherever you want to be, start being a part of it, or at least getting your mind there.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about other syndications that you were part of, and then how you could wrap your mind saying, like, this is the deal for me. Okay, now we're at a space where I'm seeing deals. This is the deal for not only me, but for others. And that, and kind of, creating that progression into now being able to put syndications together.
Yeah. So one of the main things I've learned about being in other people's syndications is the fact that they have a group. They have the people in those deals that are all, say we're all investing in the deal. Well, they have deals that on their own, or they own a brokerage firm on their own, and they need somewhere to park their money. So we're all meeting in the middle to hand over our hard-earned money from the businesses we created and put it into real estate because we know it's a good deal. But then after we're done doing that deal together, now we're on the sidelines. Go, oh, what do you do? Oh my gosh, I need a broker. You're a broker? What the heck? How come I didn't know that? And now you're feeding off of everyone that you're already in the group with. I'd say that's probably been one of the key points about being in these other syndications. So is getting connected.
That is something that a lot of times I think maybe it's like a missed point of the syndication. It's all about the deal, all about the deal, all about the deal. But in some of these experiences that you've had, like how many, how many partners are there? And then how often are the partners talking? Because I think that's kind of a mindset shift for me there. It's like, hey, we should be getting into some of these syndications that have no more than a dozen people, and you're utilizing that more as a mastermind. See what these guys are doing. You're reaching out. Their money's invested. Same with you. You
Yeah.
know, now you're in this tight
Yes.
group because if the deal goes sideways, you're not the only one in there. So you got to make, continuous deals with all these people you already have an interconnected web with.
Yeah, and you're looking at them. Are they successful? If all these people are at a successful point, from what you can tell, chances are the deal is a great deal. But whether the deal comes or goes, or you miss the timeline, right? Maybe you didn't get in on time, or you were the last one, or whatever. But where Sam and I met, it was the networking, right?
Mhm.
It's all the network, and if we can use that and bring that, the deals come and go. The deals will go, they'll sell, then they'll retrade. Then, 5 years down the road, the same one comes back online, and you might not be a part of anything the first 2 times, but now you're with the group that initially was looking at it and, hey, should we do this deal?
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool actually when it all
Yeah.
works out.
For someone who doesn't know anything, that's real day one. Can you kind of explain what a syndication is and how it's structured?
Sam.
Let's just kind of
Yes.
because I do think we probably jumped ahead, and so let's just stop on what is a syndication, and then what does it take to successfully raise capital for one?
Definitely.
Great question. What does it mean? I don't know. Something I've seen on YouTube. No, the first time I ever heard about syndication, I was in a group that we talked about, and they said, hey, we saw this guy on YouTube. He's doing syndications. We're going to go check out his deal. So we went as a group, which is, if you're in a group and you only just meet and then you leave, you know these people on a certain level, right? But now you traveled across town with this group.
Yeah.
You know them on a different level now. You had to get in a car together. You had to go eat together. You had to go to someone else's event. And now,
Cool.
to your point, though, these people better. But the question being, what is a syndication? We show up to this guy's marketing saying, we syndicate. We have partnered with syndicators. And what a syndication is a collective group of like-minded individuals, investors who want to pool their money together. It's not one rich guy, not one rich person doing a deal. It's a group of people all together. So if mom and dad go and buy a house, that's a syndication in a sense, because they did it together. If dad went by himself and bought the house, that's a single person.
I like that. Yeah.
So that's the way to scale it down. That's how I think of it. If it's easy to think about, but so now you just multiply that. If 30 people all had money that they made in their W-2 or whatever, where do they put their money? They pull it together. They all throw it in the pot, and now you're a partner in this syndication. So I don't know. Hopefully that explains it, but that's how I think of it.
Yeah.
What was the size of your first syndication? Like if I'm a listener and I've never done one, I personally haven't. Actually, this is great for me. I've never been part of an official syndication. I've gone to a lot of deals, listened to a lot of deals. Something you mentioned earlier was like, you're a little late. I think I got my money in, like my deposit that was needed, wired in. I think maybe I don't want to quote it incorrectly. Let's say it was 20 people they were taking, and I was 21 right there. And
I know. Yeah.
Oh no, bummer.
Didn't quite make it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, for me, like, what should I be looking for? What's a good deal, kind of, as an entry level investor? And what was your first deal? And were there hundreds of people in it? There 10.
Yeah. In my case, there was hundreds.
Okay.
And the doors, there's 307 doors on my first syndication.
Okay.
But to each his own. I think when you ask what a good deal is and all that, if you don't know, if you're just going off of, I'm doing it because so-and-so's doing it, I'm just going on it because my son or daughter or my mom or dad got me into this, then you're about to find out. You're about to have a learning experience. But prior to that, if you knew, okay, I want to do real estate, I want to do syndications, okay, now you have a direction you're looking for. What's a good deal in syndications? Oh, maybe 50 doors or more.
Okay.
Or, so it's all going to have some variables, but we choose 50 doors because it just makes sense. Some people say 32 doors is the magic number, where all the numbers, all the math makes sense. So if you do the math on my 500 doors of an estimated $2,000 a month rent, that's $1 million a month.
That's not a bad deal.
Yeah. So if you could do that in one transaction, then you're amazing. You're a pro. Call me. If you can do it in 2 or 3 or how many transactions, that's what I've been asking myself. How many transactions will it take to get to your goal? What is your goal? You want to buy one house? Then you got to go down the path to figure out to buy one door.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you find that path?
That's the thing. You have to first know. And that's a great question, because if you don't know, if it's a great deal, it would whiz right past you. You'd never know.
Sure.
Okay, I want one door. Now you've decided, you committed. The universe knows this. The people, the next person you meet is going to be like, hey, I got a door. And it sounds stupid, but that's how it works.
No. If you guys didn't listen in the last episode, I don't know what it's been, Sam. These last 4 to 6 weeks, it's just like everything has been aligned since we brought on this new team, and it's like make offers, look at these deals, and then do the numbers that work for you. Send the offer. Okay, yeah, it is half.
Well, and honestly, since we did team up with our new guys, I think within 30 days of our first meeting, we had our first deal, and then less than 30 days from the first deal, we had the second deal.
Love the first deal.
And today they've already sent us.
Love the first deal. Yes.
Yeah. And then they sent us 3 more we're already looking at. So yeah, no, I mean it's definitely all about flow. But I want to take it back because I know we were just talking about that 500 doors on your hat. I know you alluded to it earlier as your personal goal. So, you clearly built a successful career as a real estate investor, syndicator. What's your vision for the future? And what's the next 5 to 10 years look like in your business?
Yeah, 5 to 10 years goes back to that same word we've been talking about, and that's team. So building the team, having the vision big enough that we could fit every one of them inside the vision, building their life, their kids, their mom, their dad, whoever it is that they take care of and that they love, that they can bring along for the ride, where it's not just about me. It's not just about my money, not just about my intermediate family. Because if we can, I think it's important to scale up mentally and think, this is bigger than myself. Who can I take care of? Who can I reach out to that could benefit? So I'd say 1 year to 5 year goals, we're gonna hit the 500 doors, surpass it, because it's all about the love, the first deal. And in our personal portfolio that we've just started, putting that, like you guys said, you put your new team together first. Before you even got your team together, you had to have made a commitment. Right. We need a new team. This isn't working, or we're never done it. We're going to do it. Boom. The new team shows up. What are we working on? Oh, we're working on deals. The deal shows up. What's next? 100 more deals.
Right.
So it goes fast. Like you said, Sam, it's not the last 2 years is everything just works out because of all the work you put in before. It's not an overnight success. It's everything you've done up to that point.
Right.
Yeah. I think, I love the hat. Let's talk about $500 hat.
Yeah.
I love the hat. So we've talked a little bit high level on syndications, what that means, entry into deals. First deal, there were hundreds of other investors. So let's kind of put this in scale and then again, make people understand that there's entries into this. You have to educate yourself and you have to understand that deal. Like you said, you could have this best deal that whizzes right by you and then it's gone. Yeah. Right. So with over 3,700 doors in your current portfolio, that sounds like managing it would be overwhelming, right? That's so many doors
for one person.
Okay. So talk to the listeners a little bit about how that syndication allows you to scale at that level and what that workload kind of looks like and what it looks like now as you're turning to a general partner.
Yeah. So all the systems are in place
Mhm.
for scale, right? You start with one door, you flip a mobile home, you buy a piece of land, you sell it. This is all one person could do that easy. You have no systems at that point. You're just figuring it out, which is what I did. But now if you want to scale up and syndicate, then now you've got marketing, you've got sales, you've got acquisitions, you've got legal, you've got now positions that the systems run. So the deals come along, they hit underwriting goes to the next phase of underwriting, and so on down the line. So you're not one person doing all this. There's just no way. And then once you land the deal, now we've closed on 500 doors. Great. What do? Well, we rebrand. We make it ours. So it was theirs. It was XYZ company, and it has an old sign halfway fallen down. The old neon signs from the 80s and 90s.
I love it.
So now and then we got to have a sign guy. Where's Tim? Call Tim and have him rebrand our signs for us. So
I love
stuff
that.
like that. It just
So what about that deal? How are you sourcing? I know you said, okay, once you're looking to scale, now you have marketing, you have sales, you have acquisitions, you've got legal. Okay, with all of these teams set in place, with the acquisition side, how many deals are you looking at, and how many sources of deals are you looking at to get the one that you're going to press forward?
rule of thumb is 100.
Mm-hmm.
You look at 100 deals coming in from everywhere. So we use a multitude of sites,
Okay.
the whole internet, let's say.
The whole internet.
If you if you put out, I need deals, I want deals, congratulations on Facebook, you closed on your first home. This is what I'm looking for. 500 doors. Call me.
Yeah.
So every day, everywhere, always promoting, always pushing. This is what we do. This is what we want. So there's almost no way to calculate where the deals are coming from. You
Okay.
can say, I only have 3 sources that these. No, not us. Maybe some people do, but hundreds and hundreds of places where it could come from.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the main big places like Crexy or LoopNet or word of mouth, where you did one deal with one guy and he has 37 other deals that are coming online. So, that is a real thing. So that would be a source. But then, what was the other part you were talking about?
Like whenever, and then getting it to contract, like sourcing these deals, looking at them, and then picking the deal.
Yeah. So picking the deal, if
And it was like 100, is that what you said? The rule.
oh
of
yeah,
thumb?
the rule of thumb. So that's it. 100. You need to look at 100 deals. Doesn't matter what door size. 50 doors, 75 doors, 32 doors, whatever. 100 deals. Then you can, out of that 100, chunk it down to 10 that the numbers work. And then you can make offers on 10, all 10. You put in an offer on all 10 because they're all a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Then out of those, you are, rule of thumb, going to get 1, maybe.
Okay.
If you
So every
know how to
100,
make it work.
every 100, we're trying to get 10% and source them at is it like a 10% conversion rate of all of these that we're looking at, and we're sourcing, trying to get at 10% deals. And then from there, everyone else is doing that and looking at these if they're deals, right? So then you have to start becoming competitive, and ideally you're trying to get that 1%, right?
So if you put it that way, it shouldn't even be called a deal yet, right?
Sure.
If it was 100, we need to look at 100 options. Yeah. And 100
that look like deals
came to us. Okay. Now 10 of those are a deal. They're actually a deal. The numbers work.
Yeah.
We could make this work. That looks like a deal to me. Now you put 10 offers in on 10 deals, you will more likely to get 1 deal out of that, out of those 100 options.
That's great. I know that Sam and I, at one point when we first started talking, we were looking at hundreds of mobile home parks, and we thought we found the one, put an offer in. They
lied to us all through it.
It was an option. It was not a deal.
Should have offered on every one of them.
And that's honestly, you're 100% right. In hindsight, we should have just wrote what we thought on every single one. I think that's something that Will and I really came to grips with over the last 12 months. And And it'll even I think we've even done it where he'd say, "Oh no, it's time." I'm like, "Well, just tell me what works, and we'll offer that." Yeah, because like
we locked the deal down on that.
Exactly. Yeah, because like neither of us want to be that asshole that just lowballs everybody. But come to once you kind of get into the game enough, you realize like it's not really asshole. You're throwing that number out, and the person that needs to hear that number is going to accept,
100%,
and everyone else is going to tell you to fuck off. So
yeah. So that is where I also bring that back to team. I used to think that you are a jerk if you say that, if you offer too low of a number, and that is a lot of societal training where agents, their bread and butter is counting on their quota, right?
Yeah.
So if they go and say, "Oh my gosh, you undermined this guy's house value by X amount of dollars because you thought that the buyer could handle it," whatever, then that's where it gets a bad name. But there is no such thing as asshole if the numbers make sense. If I have a brand new truck and the neighbor wants it and he offers me $10 and to mow my lawn for the rest of my life, hey, that might be worth it.
No,
But
I 100%
is he
agree.
an asshole for offering me $10? Not really.
Well, no, and sometimes people put their property at a price that just isn't worth it. Like there was an example of a deal that I know of that property was originally listed at $10 million. They dropped it down to 6. I offered 3 with partners, and they wouldn't take my 3, but the property still never sold.
Did they counter?
No, they didn't. They didn't count. Like they just took it. They said no, like it was way too low. But the property still had never sold. Like they were hard on. We're not coming $1 under $5 million. But again, no one else was going to offer that. So it is what it is. They learned right now that their property's not worth that. They're still having to sit there and hold it. And I didn't come up to appease their number because it would not have been a deal at the 5.
Couple things too, though. Yeah, every seller thinks their deal is worth gold.
Right.
It's not. What's the vintage of it? What are the statistics of it and all that? So yeah, that's one thing. And then the other thing is too, if you're offering on them, your failure rate's going to go up, like we talked about. So we offered on 10 of them, and it used to be a rule of 25%. Is what we'd offer. That the old rule. It's dead and gone nowadays. But so if it was $100 house, you're offering $25, and then oh my gosh, and freak out. But like you said, the person that needed to hear it, the person that was underwater, that needed to move out of town, that their family emergency, they've got to move out of state, whatever, you got a deal. Boom.
Exactly. Because the one caveat that everyone gets that I'm getting more comfortable with offering it is like, I might not be offering you the most in the world, but I promise you I'm offering you the fastest closing terms.
I'm a close.
Because like, with the deals Will and I are doing right now, all in, we basically, if I offer you a cash offer on a Monday, we can close it on Friday if the title company's ready. So like I say, usually that's where I can sometimes appease it. But yeah, you just gotta get comfortable offering. But man, this has been so much fun. We could keep going forever, but I know your time's valuable. We gotta eventually kind of come to a conclusion at some point. So I know I'm gonna ask my one, let Will kind of close it out. But all your experience and success, all the lessons you learned from childhood to adulthood through all these trades, how do you stay motivated and keep pushing forward when the journey gets tough? And then also, I know you mentioned Rich Dad, but are there any other books that have kind of inspired you to help you get to where you are? So I'll let you. Those are, I know, 2 questions, but I'll let you kind of answer them how you want to.
Yeah. So the motivation thing is every day, every single day. Am I getting out of bed or am I hitting snooze? Do I want to get up? Why do I need to even get out of bed? And so that is like, if the night before, and I think a lot of people probably talk about this, get your day, the next day figured out in your head or on paper or whatever it is, because that's the reason that you're going to want to get out of bed the next day. If I got people counting on me to be there, you better believe it, I'm going to be there early, up and at them, no matter what time or where, rain or shine. So that's the motivation, I think, is putting the people in place to count on you. You know, it's super easy when it's you got nobody counting on you. You don't even count on yourself. You show up if you decide to. It's cool, whatever. So the more team I have around me, and we've talked about that a lot. I love the word. There's no I in team. And the more of that I can surround myself with, all headed towards a common goal, then the more it is actually pressure on myself to perform at a rate that I would never do without them. I would never, when I was young, didn't know how to handle my money, broke, didn't care. It was no pressure. Nobody cared. I've got investors in on my deal. Better dang well be sure that every single dime will be back to them by the date that was determined. You know, it'll be used for what it was said that it was going to be used for, and they're happy and they're confident and they'll do it again and again. So that's kind of the motivation behind it. And then the books, there's so many books. I don't even know, one of them.
Yeah.
Cash flowing deals
in any market. We'll put that.
Definitely going to add that on the list.
Yep.
Do you want us to link that directly from Amazon, or you purchase it from your website, or what?
From Amazon. Yep. We're #1 seller on Amazon.
Let's go.
Yep.
Perfect.
And then some of my main ones, I think, is two that I have here with me, is High Road Leadership by John Maxwell. It's a great book. And the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, who we talked about.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the big think, don't think I can't, think I can. And what do I need to do to make that happen?
No, dude, that's awesome. I appreciate that so much. I think that something people always are curious on is like, if I was a newbie and I wanted to do what you do, what's your best advice on making that happen?
I would say get in the corridor. Start getting in the space. Everything's online nowadays. Everybody knows about everybody doing everything. There's no privacy. So what are people doing? What is it you want to be a part of? A backpacking, hiking thing? Go get around the next meetup in the local town about hiking and biking and backpacking. You want to be a part of real estate? Look it up. Go get in the real estate. And a lot of people say, find a mentor. That's just one thing. But I think some people don't know what that even means. They just think it's a saying that everybody says, a mentor. Cool. Yeah, everybody got a mentor.
Very cliche. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think going and searching out what it is you want to do, get in the corridor, which never made sense to me, but get in the space. If you want to be a technician for Apple computers, go get a job at Apple. Be doing a part of it, whatever that you have interest in, and then you'll find your mentor, and then you'll become successful because you decided to do something. And it might not even be your passion. It might just be because you had to make money because your mom was sick or whatever. So once you figure that out, you made the commitment, it's going to start falling into place. It's like a puzzle.
I think that's awesome, and I totally agree. Now, great advice for anybody starting out. So definitely a great way to close out the episode. Oh, there's Will. Pop back in.
Yeah, dude. That was awesome. Get into space, any market. Man, I think a great place to do is cash flowing in any market, right? That's in the space. That's in the space.
Cash flowing deals.
Yep, that's in the space.
It's not about one big payout. I used to think that as a young kid, teens and 20s and even 30 years old, just thinking that it was always going to be the big, I have this deal coming. It's going to change everything. Everything's going to work after this.
All those little checks add up.
It's not about the one thing. The one thing, by the time it gets there, you've already long past, and it never worked out, and it'll never be to the impact that you had envisioned. So it's all continuous steps.
I think something that's important here as we round out, just for these people that are interested and the listeners that are interested in syndications, but maybe aren't super comfortable or they're new, is what are those kind of expectations to be set? Like, what are those checks? What are those entry levels? What are those payouts? And how can I set my expectations to understand, like, a lot of checks, even if they're small, equal to a lot of money? It doesn't have to be that home run from the jump, because that really doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, when I started my construction company, then I was thinking thousands. It has to be thousands of dollars or we're not going to look at this. But at the time I was thinking this, we were doing $200 jobs. We'd go drive across town, go get everything we need, and do a $200 job. But we were doing a bunch of them. So there was our thousands. But the mindset was like, oh, don't touch little stuff. Just like I think a lot of people say, don't do small deals because they're doing massive deals and it doesn't make sense where they are for them to think back and where they were. So I think for the average person, for people wanting to get started, you're new or you want to figure out what the magic sauce, one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
Go meet one person. Go get on one podcast, make one phone call. Then that's going to get the wheels turning, get you thinking, send you to the next step. You have to do something. You cannot do nothing.
I love it. Get in the space.
Yep.
Definitely. In the corridor.
That's right.
In the corridor. Yeah. In the corridor. In there. So again, awesome episode. I've learned so much. I think I have like 9 pages of notes here. So
yeah, this has been super great. I sure appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you hopping on, man. And can you just let everybody know again where they can find you, where they can check out your deal, what you got right now, and then inform everyone really quickly of your deal that you're putting together.
Yep. So we're putting together some deals that we've got. We're putting together some options that we have on the deal. One deal that we are closing on within a month and we're taking investors on, but everything you need to know is at our website, continuouscashflow.com. You can find us, you can talk to us, you can fill out the form, you can do whatever you need to do on there, but that's the best way to get a hold of us.
And then would I go there if I'm interested in getting in on the deal, or is there a threshold that I would have to meet that maybe I would or would not be able to meet, or
yeah, you have to be accredited?
But that's not even a point right now.
Okay.
So no, you don't have to be accredited yet. We're getting to that, but
cool.
You can be accredited or not. So
okay.
Perfect.
Awesome. Sweet, man. Sweet. Well, everybody needs to check out Continuous Cash Flow. Everybody needs to go ahead and order, and we'll put the Amazon link below. Cash Flow in any market. We'll throw in Dean's link tree. Should people connect with you on Instagram as well, on LinkedIn, or just
LinkedIn?
On LinkedIn.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So we'll loop that in there too, and definitely check out his link tree. But awesome episode, Sam. Awesome episode. This is a ton of fun. Can't wait to get into some syndications with you guys.
Let's go.
Sure.
I'm ready.
All right, guys. So we enjoyed this episode. Please check us out at the eliterealestatepodcast.com. That's our website. We post all of our episodes. Please, if you have any deals for Will and me, we are looking for deals in Pensacola right now, looking for land. Any size, definitely want to be buildable, but, bigger the better. So definitely shoot us any land you have in around the Escambia County area. Come by and see me at Clean Eats. Again, go to the eliterealestatepodcast.com, and then also check out our YouTube page and subscribe to the Elite Real Estate Podcast. Will, did I leave anything out?
Check us out, eliterealestatepodcast.com. Check out continuouscashflow.com. And, man, thank you, Dean.
You can also find us on TikTok.
Oh, TikTok. I like that.
Cool.
All right, check it out on TikTok. And what is your TikTok? Continuous Cash Flow?
Continuous Cash Flow.
Sweet.
Perfect.
Thank you, guys.
Well, we appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll see y'all next week on the Elite Real Estate Podcast.
Take care.
Ciao.